welcome to another edition of the Referees Corner right here on Islandstats.com. Joining me today is none other than the second vice president of the Bermuda Football Association and the chairman of referees, Mr. Cranston Williams. Cranston, first of all, thank you for giving me the opportunity to share information about refereeing with your referees. You've been the person behind the scene pushing to have your referees on this program to enlighten Bermuda on, and the world basically, on refereeing in the country, what people get out of it, what people are looking to get out of it, and how it could help them both on and off the field. So I want to say thank you very much, first of all, and welcome.
Thank you very much.
Well, as the chairman of the referees committee, it's a thankless job, I know, because all the referees and we'll say, it's quite hard sometimes putting together a schedule when you have people. Everybody knows the referees are short, but give us some insight on how difficult it is to manage the process of a combined 10 Premier and First Division games on the weekend.
It's very challenging, to say the least, because a lot of times once the schedule's been sent out, people have commitments. Most of our senior referees are police officers or they have shift work. So once the schedule goes out, then somebody says, "Oh, I'm sorry, I might not be able to make it," or something, family emergency, just different things happen. Mm-hmm. But it's been a long season, but we persevered and we managed to get through. I was fortunate enough to be able to recruit some of our youth referees that are older to assist us on the line with our PDL, First Division, and sometimes even Premiership games. So I'm very thankful for that as well.
You've introduced a lot of these youngsters into the fold of youth games and so forth, and we've seen a few of them make those appearances in Premier and First Division games running the line. Yes. The drive seems to be working.
It's in progress. As I've stated before, the biggest problem why people don't want to pick up a flag is the abuse. And what we've tried to do, if we do schedule one of the youth referees, we try and schedule them with a more experienced senior referee that will protect them. Right. We also make it clear to the clubs and the coaches, listen, this is one of our youth referees, he's new, be careful and try our best to nurture him along as possible.
As the chairman now, you've probably listened to each and every interview that's been done regarding the referees at some point in time, and you're right. Most of them talk about the abuse. As the second vice president of the Bermuda Football Association and obviously the chairman, what are some of the things you guys are hoping to work on in the off season this summer to ensure that clubs work on the abuse of officials, work on the abuse of just around the grounds? I mean, we need some help, man.
Yeah, Bermuda, as a country, we need to do better. It's an unfortunate state that we're in right now. Everything comes down to, as we tell the referees, if it's not put on paper, it didn't happen. So a lot of the times is that some referees have a tendency to not want to fill out a report, and that's where things can be allowed to escalate. But also the match commissioners, which are very vital, they play an important part because they are the ones that are like the Eisners of BFA at the ground. So they will document something that happens, and then once that's submitted to us, we take action.
And I mean, nobody really wants to see punishment. I think it's more about education, but it's going to take, and respect as well, because it's going to take club officials to go to, because if you look at it, believe it or not, it's probably a handful of people at each club that make the most noise or are being that much outspoken that they're the ones you could identify, right? So it's got to be one of those things where the club officials themselves, go and say to the person, hey, you're making it harder for our team, because everybody always talks about, referees and BFA is always against my team. But it can be against just your team if somebody else from another team is saying the exact same thing. But it's all about that education part where you got to go out and you say, hey, listen, let's try to refrain from attacking the referee let's refrain from attacking the referee assistant and so forth. It's got to be something we could do about that.
The biggest problem I think that is occurring is that a lot of people are not up to date with the laws of the game. The laws changes every year.
Right.
Like even for September coming, actually we're starting our FIFA course tomorrow, and we have instructors coming down who'll be conducting the course because there are new amendments that our referees have to now go through to get ready for September.
Right.
And then we're also going to run another course later on in August for locals. But that's the biggest problem, is that a lot of fans, spectators, actually sometimes even the coaches, are not up to date with the laws.
How do we work on that? How do we what vehicle will be used to make sure that, forget the fans, because some are going to pay attention, some are not. So let's make sure that the people on the field understand all the rules, because if they don't understand the rules, hence they encourage the stuff off the field to come on the field. Yes.
Yes. Well, what we've been doing every year, an email is normally sent to the clubs where we have our technical instructor and fitness instructor, Mr. Lyndon Rain and Mr. Anthony Francis, but they go around to each club, and if they request it, or sometimes we just send an invite, and they'll sit down and go through the laws of the game, the new laws with the coaches and the players. That's what we've been doing. Right. Some clubs have been very receptive to it, others haven't.
Right.
So we're hoping that for this year coming, we're hoping to make it mandatory that every club gets a visit from those two gentlemen.
Well, I mean, if you look at it, now you can get the assistance of the Bermuda Football Coaches Association,
yes.
Who now have some say in these coaches to say, hey, listen, you guys need to get on board to know the rules, because obviously they want to make sure that their coaches are giving the most up-to-date instructions to their players. And actually, if you're not on board,
if you're saying that, we have actually 3 coaches that are signed up to do the referees course commencing tomorrow.
Oh. Well, I guess that they are that much interested in knowing what all the rules are, not only to help officiate it for short, but to also look to see what don't I know about these, what don't I know.
Yeah.
And it's always good to take coaching courses. It's always good to take refereeing courses, because you don't know what you don't know. You won't know unless you take it.
I agree.
There's going to be a lot of people raising their eyebrows saying, "Oh, I didn't realize that."
I totally agree.
Yeah.
But I mean, our referees. The point of doing the show was to highlight to people that, our referees are human. Referees don't deliberately set out to make a mistake.
Right.
They understand that, things are very tense and there's prize money involved, there's a cup final, and they understand that. And the purpose of the show was to let people understand they are human and people make mistakes.
Right.
Unfortunately, we're not in the position of, say, Champions League, where we can have the video replay to go back and correct the mistake that someone's made.
Right.
It's a split-second decision.
Right.
And that's what people need to understand. And for us, especially for the youth games, you have people that are 16 and lower, and you have adults that are berating them, which is just totally uncalled for.
Well, 9 times out of 10, they blame the referee because they don't want to say anything negative toward their players. Because I guarantee if the referee makes 5, one player on the team's made 15 mistakes.
Oh, yes, that's true.
But nobody's going to chastise their players. They're going to obviously target the referees. So, okay, you have a course starting this week. You have 2 instructors coming in.
Yes.
How many people registered for the course thus far? Off your hand?
35. We're completely sold out.
Okay, so 35 people will get the latest information from FIFA instructors.
Yes.
And then we march forward. We go through the off season and we start a campaign of trying to import or get some more referees in.
Yes. Like I said, we're planning to have a local course at the end of August also. And we're hoping that the Women's League comes to fruition so that we can keep our referees engaged. What we find is that we have the course in April. There's no football until September. So a lot of times the referees become stagnant.
Right.
Well, the ones that are registered with the BRA, they will continue with their laws of the game. They will meet like every Monday evening and also do the fitness requirements as set up by the referees committee.
Right.
But we're hoping that if we can keep some sort of games going for them, or even if organize practice matches with the national squads that might be traveling, we can implement the referees, the youngsters, and the new people to keep them focused.
Right. How long has especially the fitness part, how long has that been in place?
think this is something the referees are supposed to be doing ongoing all year. It's been challenging at times because you have a lot of matches, so especially the PDL. You had PDL games every single day of the week. So the BRA petitioned the referees committee, which we in turn petitioned the executive to say on a Monday evening, can we not have any matches? Because that's when the referees need to regroup, discuss things that happen. You can identify common situations that everybody might be making a mistake on, and how they can also recuperate. So that was agreed by the executive, hoping that it continues for the next season.
A lot of pressure is put on the referees because of the fact that there's a shortage, and you would see a particular official, or not even singling out one, but doing multiple games in a weekend because of the shortage. Any worry about fatigue?
Fatigue is always a worry. That's always a challenge, and I can remember one particular weekend where we had to call on the services of some of our retired officials. Because that's how desperately short we were.
Right.
But because we knew that relegation and the championship was on the line, we had to be creative. It's not the best thing to do, but when your back's against the wall, you have to do what you have to do to make sure that the games are played.
Now, let's get back to that scheduling part, because that's quite interesting and fascinating, that you would find yourself in a position that you might get to a weekend and only have 15, let's say 12 officials available. What do? You space the matches out, or what do you do?
Okay, primarily for the Premiership games, we do our best to ensure that we have 3 certified match officials. For First Division games, a lot of times you have a person that's allocated from a club that will run the line for us. But that has to be agreed by both coaches and both clubs, so yes, they agree to it.
Right.
Because the club can say, listen, we don't have 3, I don't want you to play the match. But then, once again, puts us in a position of where you reschedule this match, where do you put it?
Right.
And we have right now, we only have 2 night fields. That's also putting added pressure on ensuring that games do take place.
I know the association is looking to help as much as they can, help themselves and help clubs. Any thought or talk about upgrading maybe 1 or 2 fields with lighting?
I do know that, yes, clubs, the association is trying to assist clubs with some lighting, and I can't say very much about that, but I do know that's in the works.
Okay.
That's the best I could say right now.
Okay, because if that does happen, 1 or 2 grounds, added grounds having lights will ease up a lot in the schedule.
Yes, it would. It most definitely would.
Of many games on the weekend, as opposed to years ago, we used to have Devonshire Rack, BAA, PHC, Somerset as night grounds. So that was 4 grounds.
Right.
Now we're down to 2.
Yeah, that's definitely putting a strain on us.
Right, and then you have the problem of multiple clubs sharing grounds and so forth. But years ago, even when I was coaching, I used to sort of in my mind try to figure out how scheduling was done with refereeing. I know a little more now, but has there ever been any thought, since you've been doing it, of zoning officials?
No, never thought of that, because the referees are on different levels. They're graded.
Right.
And primarily what you try to do is the top game of the day, you have your top officials on that game. So to zone them might create a little bit of a problem.
Okay. All right. So how many referees do you need for a weekend? How many officials do you need to do the 10 games for the weekend?
Primarily, if no one has to do a second game, 30 officials.
Okay, 30 is your minimum. Okay, so if you have 30 available, which
We don't.
Right. Okay. But there are different zones. I mean, not different zones, but different levels.
Yes.
Okay. How do you end up? Okay. What are your levels? What do you consider levels? Okay.
You have from level 1 all the way down to a level 4, we call it.
Okay.
4 is like your new person that just completes the course.
Okay.
They start at the bottom, then they work their way up.
Okay.
Your level 1s are normally your premiership officials. of which we lost 2 actually this season. So now people are trying to move up to get promoted because they have to do the written test, the fitness test, plus they have assessments.
Right.
People go around to assess them. So I think 2 or 3 people have moved up now to level 1.
Okay.
So,
All right. So now you're going to have this course.
hmm
When would the person get assessed?
That's my point. What I was saying about having hopefully the women's
Women's league. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
But people have been assessed all throughout the season.
Right.
So now it's a matter of, okay, the FIFA people come down, they'll give them the written test, the fitness test, and they'll make recommendations to the association by the referees committee. Then we have to implement it.
Mm.
So that's how that would go.
Okay. So a lot of work is put in to for the officials in the off season to ensure that they are up one on the
Technical,
right, physical.
yes, and also the position on the field, flag techniques.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, we realize we're going to have a, I wouldn't say a course, but in terms of using the boards, and now we've also just ordered an extra 5 sets of electronic flags.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, for next season, every Premier and First Division match, the official will have the use of the electronic flags,
Oh,
which
okay.
makes communication amongst the referees a lot easier.
Right. Right. Well, I want to thank you for joining because you do have one of your senior referees just entered the building. We'll bring him on in a minute, but thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure learning twofold. One as second vice president, and the other as the chairman of referees. We look forward to working with you through the summer and into next season.
And before you close, just want to let the viewers know that for next season, what we're planning to do is to have questions, trivia questions on this show, and whoever gets it right, they'll win some sort of prize from the association.
There you go.
To keep people engaged as to how the laws are changing, so we don't have that much abuse at the game.
Might be the same person winning all the time.
Yeah.
But at least people will be informed.
Yes, they'll be informed.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
All right.
Thank
Cool.
you very much, sir.
Cool. Well, now joining me on set is none other than Tracy Adams and Lionel Can, 2, well, senior referees. Leave it like that.
Lionel's not so senior, but he's been in and out of the
Yes,
field.
that's true.
Well, I was talking about age.
You doing 50 yet?
No, Trace, I'm still a junior.
But Tracy, let's start with you. You've been around for quite some time. You played the game, but giving back, officiating. What are some of the struggles you've seen over the years, or you've had over the years?
I certainly have seen a lot of change in the behaviors of the players, the fans, and I think referees are more concerned about their security and safety. When I first started, I can remember having more of a welcoming environment within the game, but nowadays it's really going from football.
What would you say contributed to that?
I think there's a lot of maturity within the players, maturity within society. I think there are a lot of, I want to say, social factors within our community that I think may have caused or contributed to some of the behavior that we're facing today.
Right. Lionel, you were in the field before. Ran away for a little while. Now you're back. What got you to come back?
Oh, wow, that's a tricky one. Obviously, I couldn't play any contact sports when I got sick. So I obviously had our meeting place on Sunday nights for Rehab Environment.
Yes.
The president was saying that we had a shortage and challenged me to come out. And since I'd done it before, I thought I would try it again. And I fell in love instantly with it. You know what I mean, with the colleagues and the game itself.
What, from the last time to this time, what do you see has been a significant change?
Well, first you see changes within the organization. And when I was doing it 15 years ago, you had to, older members. You had Stuart, George, Crocker was still around. You had a maturity level of respect as officials. So now you see a change in the Referees Association. You see the respect for each other isn't at its premium, and therefore it could filter off when you're doing your job on the field
Right.
as a team.
How do we collectively, well, you guys around the table collectively, change that? Because you have to, when you enter a game, just like a team, you have to be one unit, and everybody has to have trust and belief in the next person, and obviously it's only three of you. How does that change, and how do you work over the summer to make sure that when the season does kick in again, you're a stronger unit?
I actually think it's through training. I think that we need to do a lot more training together with the laws of the game. And you start building relationships. You just can't show up on a Sunday as like anything and click. So you have to build more closer, do more things together, and more training together. And I think it started. I actually think that the training has started, and we are only up as far as that. And hopefully that can move us on in better things for the next season.
Right. Tracy,
I just want to add to that, and I think training is just one part of it. But I think you mentioned it early, in that we have to start respecting each other and the job that we do. I mean, sometimes, and Nano said it right. Sometimes we're supposed to go out there as a team of three, and sometimes we may have a disagreement on a call or something, and I think we kind of have to respect the man or woman in the middle and move on with it. But we've had some occasions where we've not seen that cohesiveness,
Right.
and it's caused us to affect our performance in some of the games.
Right.
But I think it starts by respecting each other and ourselves first, and then if the teams can see that through us,
Right.
You may change some of the negative behavior that we're witnessing on the field.
Definitely. Now, both of you guys have played, came up through a time where speaking back to an official was almost like no way. But we've seen that change. How much education do the coaches and players need to make sure that they understand, because there's a lot of confusion about rules. That people think they know the rules, they think they understand because they watched English football on the Saturday and the commentator was explaining a rule, but they weren't really paying attention. But the rule happened. It's the same thing happens on the Sunday, and most people say, "Well, that happened yesterday," but it wasn't exactly the same. There were different elements involved. But how much education do you guys think the coaches and players need to help you guys do your job?
I think, particularly over the summer period, I think a lot of the coaches and their assistants need educations. Unfortunately, in Bermuda, it's a voluntary recreational sport, and you have some people involved in the coaching element of it that haven't played football, and they don't understand the rules. When there's a change in the rules, they're not aware of it. And what happens is, because of their lack of understanding, you see a lot of that negative emotion coming out on the field, directed towards the referees, which causes our games to be a little bit more challenging.
Right.
So I think a lot more education at the club levels, particularly to those persons that are going to be coaching and involved in football, needs to take place. And I don't want to be harsh, but I think those people that don't know the rules and don't understand the change should not be involved. Let them watch it and try to understand it and learn it. Not make referees and coaches' jobs that much more difficult.
What about fans? I know you guys. The minute you blow your whistle, you probably blow it the wrong way, and somebody's barking at you right from the start. But how much of an effect does that negativity from the sideline get to you guys personally? Because it has to. You can't say it doesn't.
For me personally, it doesn't get to me. I mean, I feel sorry for the younger referees or anyone getting involved in refereeing. The negativity from the side. For me personally, I've heard that my whole life being a sportsman. You hear that. And the referee, whenever you make a call against a team, it don't even have to be a bad call. You really know the negative effect you're going to get. They're going to blame the referee for the results when the coaching was bad and they missed 6 goals. But as a referee, you have to take that on. But it is a line. And that's where clubs and security comes into place. If it's crossing the line too much, hey, you have to just be man enough, stop the match and say, listen, this person needs to be removed from the field. So that's where the clubs, coaching, everybody comes in all for one in football. But as a referee, I mean, if you can't take abuse, you're in your own profession.
Right.
And for me, I think part of that atmosphere of the fans, because you have two teams, so you're going to have some for and some against.
Right.
So as a referee, I don't even let it. Half the time, I don't hear it.
Right.
What does bother me is when I hear the coaches shouting out a lot of negativity. I mean, our games is difficult as it is already,
Right.
but then when you have to deal with the coaches, then that's a different story there.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I've had coaches say, I've seen it on TV, and my job, I can do what I'm doing. And I'm like, well, that's fine, but do it in a positive way. You know, you have some, I'm going to say, senior coaches out there that are, as Lionel says, is sending out the wrong message and giving a lot of negativity to younger, developing players. And I mean, I like to talk to the players when I'm out there. I would encourage them. That's a good shot, or I'll tell them, I could have done better than that.
Right.
And that's good for the game, I believe. But when you have to have to go over and deal with coaches for, negative behavior, then I think that spoils the game.
Right. Do you guys think on a given game day, sometimes the atmosphere of the game dictates how you officiate? When you go, okay, you have say first and second place are playing, and you're in the middle or running the line. Do you think your temperament of officiating changes because of the level of what the game's going to be, or what the game is on, what's on the line?
I think as referees, you have to be professional and try to maintain a consistent, high standard throughout. There are some cup games. There are games where, like you say, they could be challenging for the championship, where I think in our pre-match discussions, we say, hey, you know what? We really need to say, let's protect this player because he's always been, he's a star player. So I think I agree with you in that there, depending on the type of game it is, you may want to step your game up that much higher than a game that is of less significance.
Right. And what about games where you realize there's going to be some tackling of sorts that it's going to be more of a physical part than it is because that team wants to be physical with another team?
Well, that's just basic. Once the schedule comes out and you see the teams that you're playing against, you start from there planning yourself for the game. Game's 3 or 4 days away.
Right.
So you're already playing the game in your head. What players are going to be playing? What's going to happen? So when it happens as a referee, you're already done our job, and you just do your job,
Right.
professional job.
Right.
So,
Yeah, it's about understanding the players, who the players are, who the key players are, knowing, that this guy is a sloppy defender,
Right.
and you'll probably watch out for his tackles, or that this guy is quick, and they're going to probably try to foul or obstruct it.
Right,
It's about
right.
knowing the teams,
Right.
knowing the players on the team, and I think that comes, you gather that over the years of experience
Right.
and following the teams and players.
Yeah.
and then if you're playing down Devonshire Rec, the ball might just bounce up out of nowhere. So you might get a little tackle coming from anywhere, So you take all that into consideration, the field that you're playing at, the conditions, you rather,
I'm really laughing because you
Different
singled out Devonshire.
but just because it's the closest field here.
Oh, okay.
That's all it was.
You're off the hook.
That's all it was.
Not escaping us, there were a few incidents this year where involved players' confrontations with officials, and we all know that if it's not addressed, it could possibly get worse and worse and worse. So how do you feel things should be sorted before next season starts? Because if it's not ended this year, it carries on. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I mean, you have to treat every case as an individual case.
Right.
You're going to go into some games, you're going to have teams where you have no problems with it all. They're going to respect you as referee. Then you're going to go into games where there is some really rude kids out there, and players, and it's a line. And before the match, you make sure that you determine this is the line, and once they cross the line, you just deal with it. You're not going to stamp it right out.
Right.
But you do send a message, listen, once you cross this line, you're dealt with. Because players, you have to remember at the same time, they're playing with passion.
Right.
So you have to allow a little bit of passion, into the game, and that's what brings the best out of them. But you want to make sure that they're respectful at the same time.
Yeah. How many people you sent off this year?
Well, 2 people this year, and I usually don't send people if you have to do something pretty drastic, and I'd rather send them off for fouls. But the 2 people I sent off were for total cursing off abuse.
Right.
Where you just tell them stop, and they go on and on. Which is unfortunate because you want 11 players to stay on the field at all time. But
Right.
but it's a line.
Yeah.
I think that's a good point that you made. One of the things that I would like to see is the association disciplinary committee to deal with these things early. I know that I've sent off a player midway through the season, one of the FA Cup games, and I know for a fact that that player hasn't been dealt with. I think that the association, if they deal with these incidents early, like you see over in the UK and other places, then you might be able to send a clearer message earlier, and you may get a change in attitudes from the players themselves. But you do get some people that get sent off one day, and the hearing hasn't come up, so they're able to play the next game or 2, and that causes a lot of
Because you could end up officiating that next game.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So true.
Yeah. But then, okay. Okay, you were involved in some incidents, and we can't get into them because I don't know if me personally, I don't know if the hearings have come up or gone by. But it makes it that much more difficult when you see another incident occurring and you're saying, okay, here we go again. If you had the opportunity to, or you go into the game knowing that, say hypothetically, Lionel, you had sent Lionel off for foul and abusive language because Lionel got out of hand 2 games ago, and you had sent him off or whatever. Do you try to approach Lionel before the game starts and say, hey, listen, let's try not to have that repeat, or vice versa, let's try not to have that repeat performance?
Sometimes if an opportunity presents itself, you might do that. Sometimes you're going out on the field and you see the player and he may make a comment and
Right.
you may, hey, you know what, let's have a good game this time, and remember the rules, because we as referee apply the laws of the game.
Right.
And not all the players respect that.
Well, it's a tough decision. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's not tough when you're applying the laws of the game.
Well, that's true. That's true. Yeah, you guys have a course coming up. Starting later this week. Obviously, new rules come into play. When going through new rules, what are some of the important things that you guys look for to ensure that at the end of the course you have obtained and gathered all the information possible to then go and apply the rules?
For me, I like the practicality of it. Going out on the pitch, going through some of those changes, and actually seeing what it looks like, because it looks differently to different people. Or my interpretation might be slightly different than Lionel's.
Right.
But if we bring it and show us the differences that we have, and we're able to apply the law as such, and it's explained to us where we both understand it, I think it works. And sometimes you have to take that practical aspect of it. I'm hoping that we'll get a lot more videos which go through that same process to ensure that we have the understanding, so
Right.
that when we go out there on the field, we know what we're doing.
Right.
I think it's excellent. I mean, it's a big opportunity when you have FIFA instructors coming down. For me, my thing would be to ask a lot of questions. Anything that you don't know is not clear, that is the time, because you have the professionals there. And like Tracy said, the practical is always better than watching it on TV. And I'm sure that we'll get a lot of that. So it's a good opportunity for us to grasp and grow.
Okay. I'm going to ask this question because you guys are close to my age when we played. Why did why the offside rule change? Because when we were playing, when we started, it was a basic rule. Straightforward. If you're over the side, you're offside. Not this come back and all. Why change?
Well, I'm not sure why FIFA decided that it would
To complicate
need
the
to
game.
change.
To complicate the
well,
game.
it's somewhat complicated and it can be challenging, but and you're right, it causes more confusion, especially to those coaches that don't understand.
Right. Or not in line to know that the player was, yeah.
You know, but I think it's it's a part of a process that they thought would make the game more interesting and more amusing and
More talking points.
yeah. But I you'll have to ask someone from FIFA. Maybe we'll put that to the referee.
Yeah, I mean, put it back to the simplest way. Let the game flow.
Well, I don't know about the game flowing. I think with the new rule, it actually makes the game flow better. Because when we were playing, if the ball's on the right wing and the left winger's in an offside position, and the ball's over the right, he has nothing to do with the player's offside.
Right.
So the player will keep stopping. Whereas if the guy on the left wing is offside now, the play could continue. And the guy playing the ball is in an onside thing.
Right.
So I think FIFA is just trying to keep the game flowing, keep it developing, keep messing with it. I think the offside rule is excellent. It keeps the game flowing. You can play advantage. Like if you're not interfering with play, it's not offside or gaining an advantage.
Right.
So I think they're just constantly looking for laws and ways to change and
All right.
enhance the game.
I have a scenario, and this is how we'll end it. You're attacking this way, like I'm going to give you your example. Okay, ball's on the right side or left side. Player over this side decides to walk down. This is the touch line. Walk down here, and then starts walking in. Now the player's up here. The ball gets crossed into the middle. When does this player become offside?
You can only be offside if you're in active play or touch the ball.
Okay.
So if the ball doesn't reach him, he's not in active play.
Okay. So he keeps walking. Now he starts to walk this way. The ball gets knocked, and he cuts inside and scores.
Has anyone touched the ball before?
Well, the ball got messed around
Ball
here.
got played.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it depends. It could be three scenarios. It could be that the ball reached there and then the defending team played the ball,
Right.
and then therefore he cannot be in an offside position.
But when
no
the
matter-
ball was crossed, he was in the offside position.
it doesn't matter. It never reached him in that active play.
Okay.
The phase of play changed.
Okay.
Once
Right.
it reached there, the phase of play, so
Okay.
we're moving into a new phase of play, which
Okay.
puts him not even in play. He can
Okay.
be onside. So it could be that his player touches it now and he's on an onside position.
Right.
Yeah.
Therefore, he's eligible to play.
Okay.
It could be that it deflected.
Mm-hmm.
The same play, it was a deflection.
Right.
Therefore, he's not offside.
Okay.
It could be that the opposing team played it.
Right.
So it depends what happens in that little situation there. But when the ball is actually played, he's in an offside position.
Right.
But he's not offside. And he
Okay.
cannot reach
Yeah.
it.
Okay. Okay.
So it could
Okay.
be a number of things.
All right.
Phase
So
of play.
okay. So he walked because the ball. Let's say this is the box,
Yeah.
but the ball's still outside the box, and he continues to walk in front of the goalkeeper, and then walks out. Is he involved in the play?
If it's
Depends where the ball
obstructed the
is.
keeper,
Yeah.
I would say yes.
If it's
Okay.
a shot at the
And-
keeper,
yeah.
it depends
Okay.
where the ball
And
is.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It depends where the ball
I
is.
only ask because there are times where you see the flag go up and then the linesman will go that the player came back from an offside position to an onside position, then went back to an offside position, which this player would have done the exact same thing.
That's if he's actually going back and playing.
Right, because
and
remember
playing the
he-
ball. Because
Well,
you can
we
be
got-
offside and you're in half now. Remember that. So you could be in an offside position. Ball could come over, right? You're in an offside position.
Right.
Now
You
the
go
ball
back
is
into
not
your half.
right to there. You can go back into your half, and when you touch the ball, you have your offside. When you
Oh,
touch
okay.
it,
Right, when you
back
touch-
into your
right,
half.
okay.
Yeah, so the law,
Okay, all right.
for a lot of different things.
Right. Okay.
So you have to be constantly up with play. If you notice, back in the day, Van Nistelrooy was great. When
Yeah.
it was free kicks,
Yeah.
always standing
He
on
always
the
stood
side
on-
position.
yeah, because
and
he knew
nobody would go
everybody
with
was-
him.
right.
But by the time somebody shot, he came on side and he's gaining an advantage.
Right.
For
Right.
the rebound. So
Okay. Because I mean, and that was the same scenario that I was given just now because the player standing in an offside, standing in an offside position.
you can.
Okay. All right. Watch one coach do that. Have his player walk down the side and walk in. Watch.
But they're not. If I was coach, and it's one thing that the coaches don't take advantage of, is if it's two players, the ball is played over the top, and the guy's in an offside position. Now, what I would do as a coach would be tell him, make sure the second player goes and chases the ball because everybody's stopped.
Right.
Because if the ball comes over and that offside player just stands there and don't move, he's not offside.
Right.
and then the player from behind can run it.
Running.
But I don't see coaches utilize it
Right. Well,
at this level. But we'll give them a few tips. Like we have to teach them the laws of the games.
Absolutely.
well, gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me here on the Referee's Corner. All the best in the off season. I know you guys, like I said, has got that coaching course this week. Gain as much knowledge as you can. Share it, because the only way to get the message out there is to share it with those people within football that you know, and hopefully it just continues to go on and get ready to blow the whistle Charity Cup Day. Okay?
Absolutely.
A
Thank you.
break in between would be nice, but don't speed that up.
Well, you gotta wear different. You wear whites during that time. You know?
Oh my goodness. This must be the end of the show. Thank you for
All
having
right.
us.
Thank you. All right. Cool.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Audio